take your time. I want to say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Those of you viewing GBN TV, good morning to you. Welcome to The Point. It's Wednesday, the 30th day of April, 2025. It's Government Wednesday here on To The Point. And with me this morning, I have Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph this morning with me this morning. Good morning to you, Senator. How are you doing this morning?
Morning.
Nice to have you. Nice to have you this morning.
I'm doing fine.
I was a bit surprised to actually see you in studio with me this morning. You don't hear me setting up. I know you like to, sometimes we do the technology part of it. And
right.
then I
thought it would be good to come in person. You know, today's been a while since I've been in the studio in person, and it's good to be back on GBN To The Point. Let me just say good morning to all of the viewers and listeners everywhere. I know you're on all the platforms now.
Yes, we are.
So good morning, everyone, and good morning to the regular and special listeners.
All right, and thank you so much. And I'm certainly happy to have you here in studio this morning. It's always that in-person interaction is always...
It's good.
It's preferred. You understand?
Good, yeah.
It's preferred.
Yeah.
How was things in general for you?
Things are good. Things are good, I would say so. We are working as a government, you know, in the best interest of the people of Grenada, and I think everybody is recognizing that based on the general feedback we have been getting as a government. And on a more direct level, I am charged with being the caretaker for the constituency of the town of St. George.
Yes.
And I'm working as hard as I can, mixing the ministerial duties with the duties attendant with being caretaker for the constituency.
Right.
And I'm getting good support from the people of the constituency, first of all,
Right.
and also from my colleague ministers of government to ensure that we take steps to move the constituency forward.
Certainly happy to hear. I saw you moving to a new Attorney General's office.
Oh yes, yes. That we did that. The space occupied by the office when I became Attorney General was really unsuitable and in fact unhealthy for the workers, and we got that, you know, certified by the experts. And apparently it was in such a state for a long time, but not attended to. So we took steps to make sure that, you know, the environment in which workers operate are safe and healthy as can be. And so working with the Ministry of Infrastructure under the leadership of the Prime Minister, we got outfitted the old NIS building. So let me let the general public know, those who may not know as yet.
Yes.
The Office of the Attorney General and the Division of Legal Affairs in my ministry is now located where NIS used to be on Melville Street, the old NIS building. So that's upstairs, ACB Bank.
Okay.
So we are occupying that floor that NIS occupied. We had it renovated and retrofitted, and it's now quite comfortable. The staff are happy with their new space, and we are getting ready. We have already intensified the work that we must do as the Office of the Attorney General on behalf of the people.
And I'm certainly happy to hear that. Let's get the conversation rolling this morning. Now, we had recently held the, of course, or concluded, I should say, the 13th International Labour Organization meeting of the Caribbean. Tell us a wee bit about that.
Okay, right. So, you know, Grenada is party to the International Labour Organization, the ILO. And by the way, it's good that you would start off asking me that question because, as you know, tomorrow is May Day, tomorrow is Workers' Day, it's Labour Day. And of course, I will be there celebrating with the workers. Yeah. And the Caribbean Ministers of Labour, we have been working in a very deliberate way to try to deepen and strengthen cooperation amongst each other, and also our relationship with the ILO and the agencies of the ILO. So the International Labour Organization has an office in the Caribbean. It's based in Trinidad. It's the ILO Decent Work Office for the Caribbean.
Okay.
And the director there, a Zimbabwean gentleman by the name of Dr. Johnny Musabayana. He is very dynamic and is encouraging all of the various ministries of labor and departments of labor to be more engaged, proactive, and progressive. And it is interesting that he came in just shortly after I became Minister for Labor, and we started taking really aggressive steps to properly staff the Ministry of Labor, to improve on the relationship with all the organizations, meaning the Employers Federation and the Trade Unions Council. And when we came in government, that relationship was really, really sour, because there was all the looming issues of 4%, the pension, the dock salaries, and one of the areas that is not really highlighted but was in dire straits had to do with the conditions, the working conditions of workers, particularly in the public service. Okay. So all of these things we are addressing, and we are getting great support from the ILO and the ILO Decent Work Office in the Caribbean. You would recall that last year, Dr. Musa Bayana actually attended the May Day celebrations. Yes. That was on our invitation. He was here interacting with the Ministry of Labor, and we arranged it with him so that his visit to Grenada interacted or coincided with May Day. Okay. And that was the first time ever a director of ILO visited Grenada. So it was something of which we were very proud. And so the Caribbean Ministers for Labor, we met recently, earlier this month, and discussed several issues that we would like to see addressed and fast-tracked in the Caribbean. One has to do with occupational safety and health in the workplace. Incidentally, Monday was World Day for Safety and Health at Work International. Yes. And to mark that day, my ministry went up to Baron Foods factory, and we did a couple on-site visits to some of the businesses in the area, in the General Simoons and Andrews area, right? So at a regional level, we are working feverishly to bring into operation legislation that will take care of occupational safety and health issues in all workspaces. So just as how the Employment Act applies for all workspaces, employers and employees, whether private or public sector, same we would have the occupational safety and health legislation. Okay, good. That will take care of safety at work. And that will depend on the industry in which the worker is engaged. The measures and so may be slightly different. So, for example, if you're operating in a manufacturing plant, a light manufacturing plant, there would be, of course, the need for safety measures, PPEs, safety gear, and protocols. And so if you are in an office space, it would have to do with issues of seating, lighting, air control, air quality control. A big issue in Grenada is mold. Because of, especially around the St. George's area with the old buildings and so. Yeah. So all of these things will be addressed in the occupational safety and health legislation. Right. So that's one of the things we discussed. All right. And I'm very happy that we are here in Grenada, because we were making our own individual efforts recognizing these gaps. And now we have the support of the ILO and the ILO regional office, because we are on the same wavelength in terms of what has to be done at this time for workers. So that's one of the things that we focused a lot on. Also, this new and emerging sector, the platform economy, persons working online. That is an area that the ILO is looking at closely, and in June next month, there will be the International Labour Conference. That's where all the member states of the ILO get together and discuss labour-related matters. And that's one of the issues that will be discussed. Okay. Persons working online, how are they going to be protected? Because, what we have now, we have people working online. You're based in Grenada. but your employer is in the United States or Japan or wherever, abroad, and you are working for them, and then your salary is remitted. Everything is done remotely. And so we have to ensure that workers in that space are not exploited. And recognizing it as an international issue, the ILO is about to begin discussions so that there is a convention, an international agreement among nations relating to workers in the platform economy. That's how the online workers are described, workers of the platform economy. So that's one of the other issues that we discussed at the Regional Council of Ministers meeting. The other issue we discussed was the free movement of people in the Caribbean. Free movement of workers. Now we have the CARICOM Skill Nationals legislation. And of course, you have to get the skill certificate and you have to meet certain criteria, either you graduate or musician and that kind of thing. And the heads have agreed to expand it so that workers in general can enjoy free movement in the space. The OECS is a bit ahead of the rest of CARICOM. Right, because in a sense, the OECS already has that whole free movement of people under the Treaty of Bastille, right? But at the CARICOM level now, there is a protocol that was signed earlier this year. I think it was February, and only a few countries. I think it was just Haiti. I think it was just one country to sign on that will speak to free movement of labor in the Caribbean. Of course, with certain restrictions, recognizing domestic peculiarities and so on. But generally, it would relax the movement of labor quite a lot in the Caribbean region, the CARICOM region. We have a shortage, well, at least in Grenada. So you see the construction sector, the hospitality and services sector, marine, anything to do with boating and the sea and whatnot, boatyards and marinas and so. We actually have a shortage of workers in those sectors right now in Grenada. And one of the things we are discussing at government level is even making those spaces more accessible for persons even outside the Caribbean.
Okay.
All right, because construction, talk to any contractor, they can't find workers, and especially skilled workers, Same with the service, the hospitality sector, the tourism, hotels, restaurants, whatnot. So the mere fact that we have these shortages point to our economy going in the right direction, right? We have more work available than people to do the work. That's what we are seeing at the Ministry of Labor.
Okay, great.
Yep.
A quick question. As we're on labor, your take, you've been the Minister of Labor for the last 2 years or so?
2 years and counting.
2 years and counting.
Almost.
Do you think workers are better off now under the National Democratic Congress being the government than they were previously? Your take on that?
That's a rhetorical question.
You think workers are...
Yes, of course. That goes without saying, and I think that this is a incontrovertible fact. Yeah. When you reflect, JT, on what we inherited as a government, we inherited a industrial climate that was deeply disturbed and unsettled because we had the outstanding issues relating to public sector pensions. We had the 4% salary increases that were negotiated and due and payable to public workers that were not paid. We had in some of the private sector entities, we had tensions, Port Authority, we had a few areas of tension. We had the teachers upset because they protested for their 4%, which was duly owed, and their salaries were docked as a result. We had across government very, very unhealthy working environment, very unhealthy. It wasn't just the Ministry of Legal Affairs. So we had all these issues that were causing great disquiet in the industrial space. And as I list them, you can check, I'm sure you've been mentally checking, that all of these issues have now been resolved.
Okay.
All, including only this week, the financial complex building on the Carenage was vacated, and the staff are now temporarily at the Galleria Mall. I think it's the second and third floor of the Galleria Mall in Grand Anse. That is to allow for necessary renovation works to take place at the complex of
So it's temporary, more or less.
It's temporary, yes. Yeah. So because all the government buildings, right, at the ministerial complex, and we have been doing it, I would say, kind of quietly, and the workers have been very cooperative, but systematically, floor by floor, all the floors have been renovated, retrofitted, the whole central air conditioning system replaced, a new one is in, and that includes retrofitting and renovation at the Ministry of Education building as well. So basically all government buildings, the floors are all tiled, the office spaces improved, right through the ministerial complex. That has been going on. So it's not just the paint job you see on the outside. It's real occupational safety and health issues we inherited, and that once the matters of the pension and the salary increases and so were resolved, the workers would have started protesting these conditions. So all of that is now being addressed. We mentioned Ministry of Legal Affairs before, so it's finance, ministerial complex, legal affairs, education, everybody, including the peripheral structures like the health centers, and so we're going to deal with them. We've started, right? So it's throughout. Matters relating to safety and health at work, working conditions. We were in a really dire state. Honestly, I don't know what our predecessors were doing, because it was bad.
Let me get into a bit of a conversation a little bit more substantial, and you're going into, there have been reports in the news for the last 2 weeks, two sets of people who were, dismissed by your administration, are being compensated for wrongly dismissal. Of course. Could you give us some more details on these cases, if it's possible, if you can? The Carriacou 5 and the 5 represented by, of course, Sir Chester Humphrey. If you could share some more details on that for this one.
Right. So these are matters that came up in the early days of the administration. I wouldn't go into the merits and demerits of the dismissals and the circumstances surrounding them. As the old people say, sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do, right? So these workers were terminated. In both instances, they were appointed by letters from the permanent secretary. So, in the public service, people get into the public service by various modes, and depending on how you get in, your status and your tenureship in the service is determined by how you get in. So, for example, if you are appointed by the Public Service Commission, you have what is called security of tenure, right? And so you're protected by Section 84 of the Constitution. If you're a regular public officer, and Section 88 if you're a legal officer. And then you have Government of Grenada contracts. These are all the things we inherited. And then there are two types of Government of Grenada contract. You have contracts 4 services, and those will suggest that you are an independent contractor. You're not working with the government as an employee. There's no employee-employer relationship, but that you are hired to perform certain specific services. So those are contracts for services. And then there are contracts of service, right? Those will create employer-employee relationships, right? And then there are the permanent secretaries' letters. So the permanent secretary will just give you a letter and take you on. It's a loosest kind of engagement you'll find in the public service. And even still, there are some people in relation to whom you could find nothing. You don't know how they come into the public service, but they're there. The suspicion is that somebody in authority in the past would have brought them in, but they have no letter, they have no appointment, they have no contract. But they're just there, and some of them been there for quite some time, and now we're doing regularization, and so you can't figure out how some of them right. So the workers in both instances were engaged by permanent secretaries' letters, right? Which means they could have been terminated, or their engagement could have been terminated by a permanent secretary letter, which is the same means by which they were engaged in the first place. But even that is not above the provisions of the Employment Act.
Okay.
So even if they came in on a PS letter, and in both cases, different permanent secretaries, but both permanent secretaries purported to terminate them by letter, which is the format in which they could have been terminated. But the PSs were to be guided by the provisions of the Employment Act.
All right.
And what happens when you...
Nothing cutting in on you, but does come to play. I remember on record you were saying that there was actually nothing wrong with the fact. You understand? I remember you making that statement saying that there was actually nothing wrong with the fact.
Right. So initially, when the terminations occurred, and we inquired. When I say we, I mean, well, not inquired. The terminations occurred, and subsequent to the terminations, the AG's office was notified, and the circumstances were shared. At this point, the matter wasn't yet before the Ministry of Labour. It was just information relayed to the AG's office at the time. And based on the information we had at the time and the reasons for the termination, we formed the view that there wasn't any error made on the part of the PS in terms of how the termination occurred. Okay. Once the matter came to the Ministry of Labour and all of the facts became apparent, and everything was taken into the round, the determination was made that they should have been given the requisite notice and whatnot. So,
all right. So we drew for a break. We've been on for at least the last 45 minutes. Should have taken a break 10 minutes ago, but sometime the conversation.
The whole 25 minutes already.
So let's take that break, and when we come back, we continue the conversation. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.
Boy, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up. I'm coming. Karim, what you doing? Fly my kite. Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy. Why not? The wind good. Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. It's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Glen, energizing our Grenada. Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's playing field transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th. So don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
GBN presents the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, June 7th, Monrouge Plain Field from 11 a.m. Our partners, Maggie, the secret of great flavor, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clark's Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Grenada Paper Products, makers of Cherish, Spring Soft, Hammer Bay, and Super Value Toilet Paper, and Royal, Quick and Easy, and Horizon Paper Towels, Budget Foods Inc., Classic Lighting, and Blue Bubbles PA Rental and Event Supplies. It's the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules.
Hey GBN family, we've got a brand new home on Facebook and you need to be there. Follow us now on Facebook at Grenada Broadcasting Network -GBN. Stay updated with the latest news, sports, entertainment, and everything Grenada. Don't miss out. Like, follow, and share. Grenada Broadcasting Network. Stay informed, stay ahead. First with the news, fast with the updates.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. Welcome back to, of course, my guest this morning, Senator, the Honorable Claudette Joseph, with us this morning. Senator, welcome back once again.
Yes, thank you.
Let's continue the conversation. I want to still keep the conversation a wee bit on the Ministry of Labour, and then we go diverse to something that came to mind, and it's a question I want to ask you. There was a statement about, should I say, about a sort out of committees to air grievance. That was actually made during the campaign and so forth. Tell us a wee bit about that. Has that been abandoned?
I'm glad. No.
I don't hear anything about it much.
That's not abandoned at all. You're talking about the amendments to the Labour Code that will set up a new dispute resolution mechanism.
Yes.
Well, I am happy to report to the nation that is very, very advanced.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we have the policy already submitted to the Cabinet, the amendments to the Labour Code, and of course that's not the only amendment that will come, but that's probably the big one, apart from, of course, the introduction of paternity leave and the extension of maternity leave, and some other good stuff for employers and employees alike. The dispute resolution mechanism aspect, we have a mechanism worked out. We have drafted the legislation that will bring this into force, and we have one little area in relation to which we do not necessarily have agreement by all the parties concerned. And when I say all the parties concerned, I mean employers, the trade unions, and government.
Okay.
Now, maybe this is not how the nation is accustomed to things happening, but the truth is we have been working on this for well over a year now.
Okay.
And very quietly, very professionally, cordially, the Employers Federation and the employers in general have been very involved. The trade unions have been involved, and government, and it was done mainly through the Labour Advisory Board, which is set up by the Employment Act. Okay. So the Labour Advisory Board comprises representatives from government, the trade unions, and employers. But even so, we've had some employers directly sent in their position and their opinions on the proposal. I had a long sit down with all the union leaders about 2 or 3 Fridays back, right?
Yes.
We're having worked out the policy, and so now we wanted to sit down and see if we could find common ground so that when we come to the public, we are coming with agreement on all the matters to be changed in the employment laws. So far, I am happy to report to the nation that we have agreed on everything, and it's quite a number of amendments. We have agreed on everything. When I say we, I mean all three interested parties, workers, employers, and government, except one aspect of the dispute resolution mechanism. And I could share with the public what that is. The current structure is that you have conciliation with the Labour Commissioner if there's a labour dispute or trade dispute and comes to the Ministry of Labour. The first stop is the Labour Commissioner. If the matter is not resolved with the intervention of the Labour Commissioner, it comes to me as the Minister. And then if it is not resolved with me, it goes to an arbitration tribunal. If it is an essential service, the minister can direct the parties to arbitration. So essential services would be port, Glen, those kind of, is about 6 or 7. Port Authority, airports, Glen, and there are 2 others, which escape me now, right? If it's an essential service, it can go by order of the minister to arbitration. If it is a non-essential service, which comprise most employers and employees, the arbitration is optional, right?
Yes.
And there are some obvious disadvantages to that, and which occurred in an example of which occurred in the case of Indra Williams and Caseback. Caseback is a company that owns Calabash Hotel, and they had this employee, Indra Williams, with whom they had a dispute, and she took it to Labour, and it wasn't resolved there, neither at the minister's level or the commissioner's level, and so she took it to court. They wanted to go to arbitration. She wanted to go to arbitration, but her employer did not agree to go to arbitration, and the matter got stuck. And all what she tried, the employer just ignored her, right? Because it was a non-essential service and the minister could not order them. They had to consent.
Okay.
So she took the matter to court, and it went all the way up to the Privy Council. And the Privy Council said, well, you have a law which sets out a dispute resolution mechanism, and it does not include the court. So you cannot come to the court. Too bad that your employer is not consenting to arbitration, but we can help you. If you want the court to help you, go back and amend your law. So she was left without remedy. Having been wronged, she was left without remedy. And part of what we're trying to do now in this new mechanism is to make sure that instances like this doesn't happen. Because it happens all the time. It's just that Indra took it all the way to the Privy Council. All right? And so the government and the employers have agreed that the new system will be the Labour Commissioner, the dispute tribunal. So we're going to set up a permanent tribunal. So it could be similar to a court, a permanent court for labour disputes.
Okay. And
then the next step will be from commissioner to the tribunal and then to the courts. So the minister comes out. The proposal is that the minister is no longer part of the dispute resolution process, except in matters relating to national security or public interest also. So in only special cases.
Yes.
So if Huggins and an employee has a dispute, the minister is saying, well, I don't need to be part of this.
Draft into the disorder.
I don't need to be dragged into it. As the system is now, the minister gets dragged into everything.
Okay.
So we're trying to change that. And so while the unions agree with the revamp of the dispute resolution mechanism and especially the aspect where the matter could be taken to court if not resolved at the Ministry of Labour or the tribunal, they do not agree with removing the minister.
Okay.
So that's the one little thing. And I think we're going to ultimately reach agreement on it. And that's why we haven't yet advance this matter to Parliament and so. But we have the draft laws and so and it will be a package.
All right.
Right?
I want to ask you something, and you spoke a whole lot about the arbitration. I want to talk a wee bit about the Grenada arbitration compliance. Now, as Attorney General, can you give us a little bit of insight into the delay in the Grenada compliance, with the April 3rd, arbitration ruling? All right.
No, well, my they have to comply.
Yeah.
Because the agreement that both parties signed is that the finding of the arbitration tribunal will be final. So they must comply, and my information out of Grenada is that they will comply.
Right. You see, there's some form of delay that is still going on. That's one of the one of the reasons I'm asking.
Well, all I can say, I can't explain why Grenlec is delaying. Put it that way. I'm not part of Grenlec.
All right.
So, but I had communication with Grenlec, and the information I have from them is that they will comply with the tribunal.
All right.
Right? They don't have a choice anyway. I just want to say one thing before. I just want to point out, with the resolution of the matters that came to the Ministry of Labour, if you notice, the issue with the Caracu 5, the issue with the workers at the Ministry of Infrastructure, and now the Grenlec issues. All of these issues were resolved in favor of the workers at the Ministry of Labour. And all of them concerned the employer was, in two cases, government, and in another case, a government-controlled entity. Right? So I just want to make the point that the mere fact that these disputes were brought to the Ministry of Labour and resolved there when the government was a party on the other side, because the government was the employer, and they were resolved fairly and objectively in favor of the workers, shows that we are running a transparent, equitable, and independent Ministry of Labour when it comes to dispute resolution, right? I just want to highlight that, because I can guarantee you in another dispensation that won't happen. It is demonstrative of the fact that we do not have interference when we're doing our work at the Ministry of Labour. Take, for example, the Caracu 5. When I had certain documents before me, I formed a view as AG, and I said, well, I didn't see anything wrong done.
With the firing, yes.
When we got all the information, when we got the other side and objectively viewed the matter, right, we determined it's not that the PS could not have terminated. That's not the thing. It's not the PS could have terminated, but the PS did not comply with the relevant aspects of the Employment Act relating to what you do when you terminate, right? And so it shows too that there's a certain level of objectivity and non-interference with the Ministry of Labour, and that is something that we have not seen in Grenada in a very, very, very long time. I just wanted to make that point.
Oh, great. All right, nice to hear that. I want to ask you this. This is another, of course, issue I want to hear from you. Of course, we've been hearing about the issue with the Sheldon Scott issue. We heard, of course, you gave an update in the last town hall. I mean, the latest on this, as you mentioned, the matter is going to be now a legal one. And I'm assuming maybe not much you can say now. Give us a little bit of an update on it, if you can, on any level at all.
Well, as I said at the town hall meeting, first of all, I want to make this point that when you're dealing with these matters, you don't deal with emotion. You don't go on emotion, right? You deal with facts and law, applying the law to the facts. And in this instance, we have had an exchange of correspondence between the Attorney General's office and Mr. Scott. He has admitted to his indebtedness to the government of Grenada, coming out of the what is called cell phone gate.
Yes.
So we have gotten to that point where he admits, yes, I have to pay. So we were discussing, well, how much? So we've agreed to the principal sum. It's in excess of $115,000 or so. And according to law, the government is entitled to interest on that sum from the date of the admission, which we also agreed goes back to July 2019, to payment. And he is objecting to paying interest. So that's where the negotiation kind of broke down.
Okay.
He doesn't feel he should pay any interest on the money. But this is money that the government has been out of pocket for a long time. And according to law, and in fairness, government should be paid interest on the money. So that's where we kind of departed. And it's at the point now where we are going to proceed to court. We've drafted the claim and everything already. And so Mr. Scott is going to be served any day now.
Okay.
He's going to be served any day now. So that's where we are. When we get to court, there will be another, based on the process of the court, there'll be another opportunity for us to mediate again. And maybe during that period, he will come to his senses. Maybe a judicial officer has to say to him, well, Mr. Scott, you can't object to paying interest. It's automatic. Once you admit a debt,
yes,
interest will accrue on that debt. That's Section 27 of the West Indies Associated States law.
All right.
Right? So, and that's the only matter on which we did not reach agreement, which is causing us now to have to proceed to court. And to me, it's going to be more expensive for him, because once we file the action in court, we will be entitled to our legal costs, which we will insist on, because we think his position on the interest is untenable and unreasonable.
All right. Okay, understandably so.
Yeah.
So we hope that brought a little bit of clarification.
Yes, so that's where we are now.
A little bit of clarification on that. Let's switch the conversation a wee bit. So that the time, you the caretaker for the Tongue of St. George. Tell us what's been going on, what's sort of some things that you have accomplished thus far, being the caretaker and so forth. Talk to me about it.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. The Tongue of St. George, what I've discovered as caretaker, and especially caretaker in government.
Yes.
Because it's one thing when you're a caretaker and you're in the opposition and you have no leverage whatsoever, no say. You can only lend a listening ear to people.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not the elected member of parliament for the constituency, my party did win the elections, and therefore that gives me some degree of ability to assist the people in the town of St. George, leveraging some of the government programs and policies. And also, let's face it, when you're in government, you get more support from the private sector. So even that, some of it is my own doing with private sector assistance, and some the government programs. One of the big things in the town of St. George is housing and tenureship. Well, you know that. It's amazing, the poor quality and the living conditions for some people right in the town, right? And we also have a situation with squatters. We have a lot of people in certain parts of the constituency who have built on crown lands. One of the things I campaigned on when I was vying to become the MP is that I will ensure that people who are on crown lands, some of them had started the process of buying the land but never finished. Some have not started yet. There are different stages. I would ensure that people get tenureship, because to me, land is wealth. Wealth is liberation. Wealth is independence. When you own land, it could be a start to a better life, better living condition for you and your children, because it's equity. So that's one of the main things I campaigned on, and I'm happy to say to the people of the town of St. George that today, this afternoon at 2:30, we will be having a ceremony. And because I was the candidate in the election who campaigned on regularization of people on crown lands, the ceremony where we will hand out the first batch of conveyances will take place today at 2:30. You see, I'm smiling, I'm so happy, at the stadium. And some of the people in the town of St. George will get their conveyance. Not all, because as I said, it depends on the stage at which you were with acquiring the Crown land. Now, what happened when I brought this after the election, I started trying to do something to make good on the promise, right? So I went through with the assistance of some of the people in the constituency, went through the constituency, got all the names of the people, their situation, and I created a spreadsheet, a matrix, and I sent it to the Ministry of Agriculture to say, look, we need to regularize these people. This is a promise we made. This is this person's status, that person's status. Time for them to get their deed. Let's put motions in place for them to get the deed. And my colleagues in cabinet thought this was a really good idea. So let's do it nationwide, because this obviously is not only a tongue of St. George. So we decided we're going to take it nationwide, and this is how the regularization process that we have ongoing now was birthed. So we are going to give out the first batch of conveyances, almost 60 or so, today. And some of them are from the town of St. George, but there will be others from other parts of the island. So I'm really happy to see this is one good thing that has come out of my work in the town of St. George. The other thing in the town is infrastructure. Right? So, land tenureship, and then housing is another one, and we are working every day to improve the housing stock for people. We have well over 100 persons who have been either approved and the work completed, or the work is about to start, or work is ongoing in terms of house repair and even construction of new homes under the various programs of government. Then the other aspect is infrastructure. And, when you drive through the main streets, they may not be as bad, although some of them need work too. Yes. But they may not. But the problem in town is when you start going up off the main road, you start climbing the hills and the tracks, and especially Darbo and River Road. Iron Line JT, I don't know how some of the people were able to get material up these hills, jump all these rocks and through all the mud and things.
Most of these areas, a lot of stones and stuff.
Very
like
big stones and so. So one of the things that I have been doing is helping to make access easier for people. And I'm really happy to say that that's going really well. We're doing a big section of Gretna Green right now. We've finished one road. We've done 4 stairs. Well, no, the other 2 is over on the other side, over by Leonard over there. But up Gretna Green, we did 2 stairs that will go all the way up into the hills, and then a motorable road. So some of the people now could actually get a vehicle, because they would be able to drive right up into the yard space. We did a nice little turn-in spot. So that one is nearing completion, and that's a huge one. I was on the ground recently, and the people are so very happy. And I'll tell you the truth, some of the houses up there, since I've been campaigning, is the first time I've been able to actually reach the house, because you would be down in the bottom and watching this house up on the hill, and you don't know how the people get it up there. Or even if you climb the hill, some instances literally have to go on all fours to get up. I couldn't figure out how I get him back down. So I'm really happy, and I know the people are happy too, that is ongoing. So that's one of the things I want to continue to do. We did some in Darbo, so I want to do some of that for Darbo, Mount Rush, River Road, that whole area there, because people need access. When that happens, the people could improve their life. One thing, their property value would immediately go up. When they renovate in the house, it's easier to get the material up the hill. The sick, the elderly, the infirm, right? Yeah. It's easier for them to get. I cannot understand how these people could have been represented by people in the parliament for all these years and be left in those conditions. Honestly, I can't understand it. So that's what I'm doing to leverage using government programs to help people. I'm really trying my best to help people. The other big thing is the community spaces. Yeah. if you notice, we did over the basketball court. I don't know when last year went on the basketball court.
Yeah, I travel regularly.
Right.
I mean, I do work from time to time, so I do pay attention to the
bleachers were all broken, more than all the seats were gone. It was terrible, right? So we finished the bleachers and the perimeter fencing, and we've done over the court, and so we still have a little bit of work to do inside there, but it's now much better, and people are happy with the new bleachers and so. And we are building, in the old Queen's Park there was a pavilion.
Yes.
Right. So
I saw where that
you see the building going up.
Bathroom or something.
Right. So we are building
changing room per se.
Right. We're building changing room, bathroom, lockers.
Yeah.
And bleachers, a pavilion, not just bleachers, a pavilion, because it will be covered like how the old pavilion was.
Okay, understandable.
Right, similar to how the old pavilion was with the facilities downstairs and the seating upstairs. Okay. Because what a lot of people don't realize, although River Road is a River Road, Cemetery Hill, Darbo, Montfresh, all the surrounding Sanssouci, very sporting oriented community. In the GFA, I don't know whether they're in Premier League or First Division or whatnot, but you have Queen's Park Rangers and Camerhorn FC, both from the same community there.
Yes.
Right? You have that playing field there, which the schools use, and including PBC and all of those school convent, and so the community uses that. Is a heavily used playing field, and it wasn't treated well. Yeah. So apart from building the bleachers, the changing rooms, the lockers, we are lighting that playing field so you can have good proper lighting on the field, and night football.
Okay.
So you see
I've seen that.
It has
but
started
I also saw
already.
the field has been dug up a wee bit and been left so for a wee bit
on the side. So that's the conduits for the electricals for the poles.
Okay.
You see the base of the poles, they're already down. Yeah. Sometimes with government bureaucracy and processes, things get slowed down because we're waiting on this.
It's been like that for a wee bit.
Right. So in some instances, the contractor is waiting on payment. Government is something we have to try to fix. Based on the processes involved, things take a little longer than if you would be, say, dealing with a private sector entity.
All right.
Because you have to checks and balances have to be in place before payment is made. So that usually, when you see a halt, usually is something like that. And our contractors are small contractors, so they need their pay to be able to pay their workers to continue. So the projects sometimes get slowed down for those reasons. So that is happening in community spaces. We're doing a resource and computer center downstairs, the community center. Yes,
but
and
that
one
a little bit dilapidated for.
Yes, so we are.
Dilapidated for.
So we're going to be fixing up the community center as well. We're going to be working because all the windows at the back are broken. I don't know, the tongue was really neglected. I mean,
you as the caretaker now, you as a government caretaker, as you mentioned. I mean, what more would you like to see the tongue of St. George? Can we go through the infrastructure, the roads in various areas and so forth that needs attending to? And so you mentioned, I understand the bureaucracy that plays.
Yeah, sometimes that's slow. And for me, I mean, I'm not the MP, and I am so frustrated sometimes. I wish, if I know that if I were the MP, it would have been easier. I have more leverage. Understand? And I do not get and I must say to the public, I do not get the support that the MP gets, and he does get it. Okay. Meaning, the government pays for all 15 MPs, their offices, their staff, their supplies in the offices, the utilities, their constituency allowance. Okay. So they really have no excuse. They should be serving the people better, especially the opposition MPs. We have really made it easier for the MPs to serve the people better. And those of us who are caretakers, even though we are in government as ministers, once you're not an MP, you don't get that kind of support. So I'm making an appeal, using this platform to make an appeal to people out there who see the good work I'm doing in the town of St. George, and like the good work and want to support me, please do, because I do need the support. I have an office to run with no government support because the system is not set up to support me, but yet I am expected to do the work.
All right. We got into that stage of the morning. Of course, the phones are going, as you see. We may have to invite a couple calls from our listeners and viewers this morning because we are still strapped for time, but we will permit an extra 5 minutes or so after to come through. So let's take our first caller.
Yes.
And let's get some feedback from our listeners. Caller, you're live. Good morning and welcome.
Mr. Telesford, how are you?
Doing good, sir.
Greetings, Miss Joseph. It's a pretty long time I've had the opportunity to throw two questions to you.
It's so good to hear your voice. How are you doing? How have you been
pretty
keeping?
All right, by the grace of God.
Okay.
Listen, the first question is rhetorical. Why you see I disagree with the system under which we operate. Why should you, an unelected member, have greater ability to get things done than the MP? Don't answer, rhetorical.
Okay, I will.
The second one.
Well, I don't know that I have greater ability, though.
Well, but you do get it done, don't you?
I have not ability. I have more will.
Well, it shouldn't be.
And I work harder. If the MP could get it done, if the MP wants to.
You reckon? Well, let's leave that there because that's a discussion. They said finally, but Ms. Joseph, this one is even on a more serious note. Have you found out the number and year of the Constitution Act of Grenada and the documents that give faith to it? Its legitimacy, its legal authority. This one I want you to answer or would like you to answer.
Now, that one I think is rhetorical too.
No. There is an answer for this
rhetorical
one.
In the sense that I think you know the answer. We have the Grenada Constitution Order.
This is a powerful question.
Grenada Constitution Order, December 10th, 1973. Came into force on 7th February 1974.
Ms. Joseph, that is an imperial order from the Queen. I'm talking about the Grenada Constitution.
We've been going through this for the last 5 or 6 years.
But why don't you answer the question?
Well, I answered you. Not that it's just that you don't like the answer you get, but you did get an answer.
I don't like it. What gives the Constitution its legality, legitimacy, and legal validity, Ms. Joseph? Thank you very much.
Yeah, well.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
I think I've answered that many times of Mr. Rollo, and I've heard former Attorney General Cajetan Hood answer it as well. I heard former Attorney General Sir Lawrence Joseph answer it as well. I think Mr. Ramdani answered it at one point, all former Attorney General. Same answer we all give.
Okay. Caller, you're live via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome.
Hey, good morning, Ms. Joseph. Ms. Joseph, you and Mr. Rollo been through the same thing with God and Godfrey, I remember.
Yes.
Anyway, my question to you, all right, concerning the documents for the oil and gas, we heard about the contract with GPG. Well, you know that too, because since Godfrey, you've been talking about that, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I want to know if there is any way that the previous administration, that your administration could sue the previous administration to get these documents and the contracts and stuff like that. And okay, something that what came to my attention, and I wanted to either get to Gloria Thomas for me. I'm hearing that the children from St. Patrick REC School, the feeding program being cut off. So could you look out for that for me, please? Okay, basically that's my question for the day for you.
Gloria Thomas. Okay.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
St. Patrick's REC, you said?
Yes, I think that's what he mentioned.
St. Patrick's REC.
435-2041. If you do have a question or two you may like to ask the senator, feel free to do so in this segment as we just have a few more minutes before we wrap.
And well, there was also, he asked about the oil and gas.
The oil and gas.
You know, there's
in terms of getting the past administration or maybe suing or whatever you said to get them to.
So government has set up a technical working group, as I think the public generally knows now, to treat with the issue of oil and gas. And part of the composition of that team are some oil and gas legal experts. And they are treating with all matters relating to the situation with the oil and gas. So if the experts so advise based on the details, all of which I must confess I don't have because I don't directly sit on the oil and gas, the technical working group. A member of my staff does, the Solicitor General does. But once the experts, the oil and gas experts advise, we will abide the advice. We will review it and advise the government on whether or not the advice should be abided by. And I am sure we will find that we should abide the advice, because you're dealing with people with a lot of knowledge and expertise in the area, including lawyers.
Okay, great. We do have another caller.
Yeah.
Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning to you, caller. You're live.
Yeah. I have a thing. I getting pension, and everybody get them own, I don't get mine.
I'm not sure. Caller, could you repeat it? You sound a little bit distant for some reason or the other.
She said she's not getting a pension.
I don't get $500, and I don't get it. I don't get it this month. So I don't know if they put it in the bank, in the teller, and I go home one time and I don't get it.
You're talking seed.
Probably.
Huh?
Gets $500.
You're talking about seed, not pension. Is it seed?
Yes. Yeah, what is it? The $500.
Or seed?
Seed.
Okay, well, maybe you should check with your seed officer.
They say in the teller, they send in the teller.
You got your card already?
I have the card. I go home one time, I don't get it.
Okay, so check with the seed officer, the person in your area who deals with these matters.
Well, I check with her. She say, and look at the month up now. I don't get nothing.
Okay.
Check with her. Tell her to check the Ministry of Social Development to see what happened with your payment.
Yes, okay, thanks.
Okay, darling.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Senator, we're going to come to the stage where we're going to have to take a wrap for today. Any closing comments from you before we take a wrap for today?
Well, thanks for having me, and I look forward to all workers participating in the May Day celebrations tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will be there, and of course giving my usual update and address to the workers. We have quite a lot of good things to report for 2024, including the coming into force of the new Public Sector Employees Pension Act,
yes,
which has been rolled out. The deductions have commenced, and so all workers in Grenada are now, all public sector workers and some statutory bodies are now assured of pensions, and we have quite a lot of other good announcements to make coming up, and all of which I can assure workers will ensure that going forward in the next year we will continue to enjoy industrial peace and stability, and therefore productivity and progress. In the town of St. George we have a lot happening. We also coming at you Old Trafford. We're doing some upgrade at Old Trafford. We actually started and then had some technical issues, and the engineers advised us to do a recalibration there. That's why Old Trafford is not advanced yet. And of course, we just launched the playground in Monrush, which is a big hit with the children. So in the town of St. George, I will continue once part of the government to leverage the programs and policies of the government to bring benefits to the town of St. George. But I assure the residents I will be able to bring many more benefits. Well, I wouldn't say many more, much more. I'll be able to bring much more. There's a difference,
Yes, there is.
to the people if I become the member of parliament when next elections are called. So I look forward to continuing to working with the people of Grenada, doing all the necessary and legal work to advance the lives of the people and the workers and the people of the town of St. George.
All right.
Yeah.
Senator Joseph, I want to thank you once again for coming on the program. Pleasure having you here. I think it was a fruitful discussion this morning.
Man, River Road man,
Of course. I hope to have you back soon again. We of course expand the conversation even more for the I have questions that I have here. We couldn't get all in this morning.
Well, yeah, I'll be happy to come back. I know, my portfolio based on the broadness of it.
Yeah, so much more we could have expanded on. But thank you once again. An hour is just not enough time to talk to you. Have a great day. I want to thank all our listeners and viewers also for, of course, sharing the program with us this morning. Have yourself a great day. Join me again tomorrow. No, I'm not being tomorrow. Tomorrow's like Labor Day. Right? Tomorrow's May Day, right?
So
yeah.
Maybe join to the point you could go live.
Most likely. But I guess the station will be carrying. We will be carrying.
Yes.
Until then, folks, have a great day, folks. That's where we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point. Goodbye, folks.